So another thing I like to do is I like to set some guidelines, actually towards the beginning of the circle, just to give everyone an idea of what's appropriate, what's not useful, as well as give them the ability to feel comfortable because they'll know what's expected, what's not expected, and in the ways that their personal sharing experiences will be defended and honored. So I'm going to share with you what some of those guidelines are that I have. Of course, you should set it up appropriate to what makes sense for your circle. My first one is that I like to use I statements. This is very common if you ever take like a couples communication class or things like that. They'll talk to you about I statements. So using non-combative, non-projecting language. So when you're speaking about your feelings or even your worldviews, you're not projecting your beliefs and experiences onto other people. And this is especially true and important if you want to make sure that your circle still feels like a safe space and like a comfortable space for trans women, or if you're just having it like a very gender, women, all women inclusive circle. And also because, if you're having women of different cultures, that can definitely be something to help prevent any kind of offense. The next one is no advice giving unless someone asks for it, and try to refrain from piggybacking on what other women say. And this would pertain not only to the women themselves, but also to yourself. So, what happens when we start giving advice after someone shares is that we interrupt their ability, one, to really process what it is that they're feeling, because a lot of times once we start talking about something, the wheels start turning and we're learning from just even sharing. So we don't want to interrupt that self-learning process, that learning process for themselves and their self-healing. Also, it just doesn't make someone feel like they've really been listened to. When you're spending your time thinking about, when people have something to say after someone else, there's a good chance that half the time that other person was sharing, that the person who gave advice checked out. They weren't even listening to everything because they were thinking about what they were going to say next. So it's okay though, and that's why I say, like, unless you ask for it, because sometimes women really want to know, what do you guys know any places that are good to help me with this or that, or I don't want anybody in my circle to feel like they can't ask for help. I just don't want to impose my help on them. That was hard for me to learn how to do for a while, because I often want to help people, and that urge is nice, but it's not always useful. And then piggybacking, what I mean by that is like, oh yeah, that happened to me too. And the reason why is because it interrupts the flow of the sharing circle. And it also might make some people feel like maybe what they're sharing will be commented on or compared to, when they don't really want you to compare your experience to them. And also it can lead to like a slow snowballing of conversation. Granted, in some smaller groups, I've been a little bit more lenient about piggybacking, because I felt like we were really like getting a lot out of it, and there was time and there was space for it. But especially with larger groups, piggybacking can really snowball. I always let them know it's okay to cry and it's okay to laugh. I crack jokes, stupid jokes, things like that, to try to make them understand that all emotions are welcome, and that they don't need to filter themselves. Always keeps a box of tissues available. Even just like doing a heart opening meditation. Some people really don't focus on their heart as much as others. That could alone make them start to cry. And that's totally fine, and it's very healthy. Another one is, please don't just touch someone, ask for permission. The reason why is because if someone really needs to cry, that's very healing for them, and we don't want to interrupt that process. Granted, there's been times where someone is really, really, really upset. In some cases, it may be appropriate to be like, would you like me to comfort you, or can I hold your hand? And you can ask that, but wait, only if it's like been going on a while, and or you feel like they really need the help. but mostly it's better to let them go ahead and shed the tears that they need to. Um, Very important to express how important how it needs to be a confidential space. People share some very, very personal things, so they need to know that it's not going to be talked about outside of the circle. And it's also a matter of, not interrupting your own or other people's manifestation process. It's important when we're doing any kind of releasing or receiving magical work, manifestation work, that kind of stuff. You gotta be very careful about how much you talk about what you're doing before it even happens, and who you're talking about it to. So just keep that in mind as being an important factor. And then also, I give them the permission to understand that at any point in time, if they feel they either need to leave entirely or just don't want to participate in a specific part of the circle, that's their right and their privilege. And the reason why is because maybe they're very energetically sensitive and they can feel other people's energies. And so when we're doing energy sharing within a circle while doing open heart meditation, it may be overwhelming for them because they are not at a good point right now with being able to handle that from other people. And that's okay. Or maybe they came, they showed up, they were open and they were willing. It's not for them. That's totally fine too. You want to let them know that they don't have to sit there and do something they don't want to do if they don't want to do it. Um, and then let me see if there's anything else I really want to talk about. I think that's mostly it. Definitely some other things that can really help you. This is in a more practical manner. Signing up for newsletters from astrologers or women's organizations, especially things like mysticmama.com. They put out a great newsletter that gives not only just one perspective, but several different astrologers' perspective on the energies of the moon that time. Make sure you're tapping into other resources and magazine subscriptions, stuff like that. That'll really help you be creative about what you bring in and bring in some information that you might not just get on your own. I think making sure that you create attractive, meaningful, original, or at least highly appropriated like collages of images are really important. Marketing and advertising tools, and I say marketing and advertising not like we're trying to make lots of money on this, but just saying that like it really, a really good image can draw people in to your circle. So invest in that, and also, please be conscious and keep in mind other people's artistic, creative licenses as much as possible. Especially if you're charging money, like a set fee. I try to keep mine donation only. And any money that I would make off of mine just went back to paying for the space, paying for any supplies for the circle, and then anything left over pretty much always went to another healer. So either my own shamanic practitioner that I meet up with on a regular basis, or another healing circle I go to. So and let's see, what else? Keeping a mailing list is really important and really easy to do. MailChimp is great. It's very easy to use. It's very attractive. It doesn't cost any money as long as you're under something insane like 2,000 subscribers or something. So definitely use that resource. Look on Facebook for other groups. Like in Sacramento, there's Sacramento Wellbeing. There's Sacramento Women's Circles. These are all groups that I've joined, added, and post in. Meetup.com is a fantastic way to get people to come. And while Facebook, you put up a Facebook event and people say they're going to come, maybe half of them come. I feel like Meetup, it's more accurate. The people that are going on there are actively searching for connection with other communities and people who have similar interests. So meetup.com is a great way to get people to come to your circle. If you have over 100 people in your group, then you do start paying $20 a month. I felt like it was always worth it. And again, my circle money just went into that anyway, so it paid for itself. Yeah, just okay. I think that's all I got for now. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to answer. And have a good journey.